What's going on, guys? Today I have for you what is possibly one of my favorite film cameras of all time, the Mamiya 6 MF. The Mamiya 6 is a medium format film camera that shoots in the 6x6 aspect ratio. The Mamiya 6 name has been around for a long time and is attached to many different bodies. The one that I'm focusing on is referred to as the new Mamiya 6 because it's the newest and the last iteration of the camera. If you're trying to buy one of these cameras and see the word new attached to the name, there's a good chance that it's not actually new as in unused, but it's the newest in the Mamiya 6 timeline. In terms of construction, the camera is made from a strong yet lightweight die-cast aluminum with a non-slip rubber that wraps around the entire body for secure handheld use. Ergonomically, the body is well designed with everything placed for the user's convenience. The built-in grip is of good size and adds to the comfort over long uses with the camera. Perhaps my favorite feature of this camera is its retractable lens mount design. With the press of the lens mount release button, the lens can be extended for use or retracted into the body for storage. This allows the lens to be recessed into the body by 1.2 inches and reducing its footprint by a good amount. This was the feature that sold me on this system. When extended, the body and 75mm combo is barely larger than my 35mm setup. The Mamiya 6 system offers three different lenses: a 75mm f3.5 standard lens, a 50mm f4 wide lens, and a 150mm f4.5. The fact that this system only has three lenses is both good and bad. Good because if you want the entire set, there's only three lenses to buy. Bad because if you need anything outside of these three focal lengths, too bad because there's really nothing that you can do about it. I personally don't mind this at all, as I know that I could get away with these three focal lengths and get what I want out of this camera. Whether or not you can is up to you. Mamiya did also produce an auto close-up lens for the 75mm. This is essentially an adapter that you add to the front of your lens, and it allows you to reduce minimum focusing distance from 1 meter down to 50 centimeters. This is great because in my opinion the 1 meter is kind of far and makes it not possible to get tight headshots, but the close-up lens is sort of a hit or miss as it is rather big and cumbersome. It attaches to the front of your lens and includes another piece of glass that adjusts what you see in the viewfinder. If you ever play with the Fujifilm Instax Wide with a close-up adapter, it's basically the same thing. It works, but it's definitely not elegant. My particular Mamiya 6 is the MF version. The MF stands for multi-format and is namely so because Mamiya made several adapter kits that were sold separately and allowed you to use multiple formats with this camera. There was a 645 adapter that allowed users to essentially crop the 6x6 negative down to 645. In my opinion, although this adapter works as intended, it was poorly executed. Usually when a 645 camera is made, the aspect ratio is turned sideways with the long 6cm side being the width and the 4.5 being the length. This means that on a roll of 120 film, you get about 15 or 16 shots depending on the camera. The 645 adapter for the Mamiya 6 MF does not do this. The adapter instead crops from the top and the bottom, making the images 4.5 cm wide and 6 cm long. As a result of this, you still only get 12 images from a 120 roll of film as if you were still shooting 6x6 instead of the 15 or 16 on other 645 cameras. So in my opinion, this adapter is kind of useless as you can just save money by shooting standard 6x6 and crop to 645 in post. This is actually more advantageous as you have more real estate to crop from. The next adapter is for use with 35mm film. In short, this adapter allows you to shoot 35mm film in the Mamiya 6 MF, but not in the standard 24x36 dimension. Instead, it shoots 24x54 panoramic images. The Mamiya 6 MF is the last iteration of the Mamiya 6, but they did end up reintroducing the standard new Mamiya 6 again without the Mamiya 6 MF features, as in it did not have the ability to use the multi-format adapters. This was largely due to the viewfinder of the Mamiya 6 MF. The Mamiya 6 MF viewfinder displays all of the frame lines for all possible formats of the camera. This is not something that can be turned off and is always there. Users who did not use the multi-format adapters did not like this. They found the frame lines unnecessary and distracting, so due to popular demand, the standard Mamiya 6 was brought back and sold alongside with the Mamiya 6 MF. I personally don't mind the viewfinder of the Mamiya 6 MF at all. The frame lines themselves aren't that big of a deal. It's not like they're solid or anything. They're hash marks around the edges. So they don't take up too much real estate and really you barely even notice them there. I personally find that they are helpful in some scenario as you can actually use the frame lines to say level out your horizon or just use it as frame lines. So it helps in some senses. The Mamiya 6 MF features a built-in meter. The meter is center weighted for the 50mm and 75mm lenses. The 150mm lens uses average metering. This camera also features aperture priority automatic exposure modes, along with the ability to fully control exposures manually. There are two aperture priority modes. The first meters based on the aperture chosen on the lens and continuously meters as the shutter release is pressed. In automatic exposure lock mode, the camera meters based on the aperture chosen on the lens, but only does so once per shutter press rather than continuously. Among the things mentioned, this camera does feature various other settings that add to the functionality of the camera. Things like self-timer mode, an internal dark slide that allows you to change lenses mid-roll, and various interlocks that does not allow the shutter to be fired when certain situations that would prevent proper exposure of the film has arisen. I'm going to be honest with you, before buying this camera, I actually wanted to buy a Mamiya 7 II. For me, the decision between the two ultimately came down to pricing and how much it cost. This exact camera right here was listed for $1860 USD, but I actually got it down to $1475. So to me, that is an amazing deal on this camera, and really, it's as good as you're ever going to get at this moment. The Mamiya 7 II, on the other hand, there were none under $2,000, and there were two for sale, bodies only, for $1,600. So ultimately, I would have to buy a lens for those bodies, and that would bring me around the $2,500 mark. So for $1,000 more, I just could not justify going with the Mamiya 7 over the Mamiya 6 when there aren't that many differences, in my opinion. Ultimately, it's the film size. That's what I considered. So for $1,000, I didn't think it was worth it going with 1 centimeter larger on the negative. But of course, that's just my way of thinking about the Mamiya 6 versus the 7. Definitely do your research, as there are minor differences between the two that really contributes to the cameras overall. And to be honest, if I were to go back and I had the money, like the absolute money, to buy a really nice condition Mamiya 7 II, I would definitely do it over the 6. That being said, if you need a compact, lightweight travel camera that can close down to the size of a 35mm camera, the Mamiya 6 is the way to go. The Mamiya 7 is not going to give you that. It's still rather long. You know, it's the Mamiya 6 extended plus a little bit more. So in my opinion, if you're looking for a travel camera, this is the one to go with. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, share, comment if you have any questions on either camera, and I will try to help you out. Don't forget to subscribe. See ya.